Welcome back. It's another episode of the Pace and Space podcast. I'm Sam Oshtry alongside Sean Barnard. Keep hitting that subscribe button. Keep liking. Keep watching. Get involved in the conversation in the comments. We'll answer all your comments, your questions. If you want to talk trash on us, go ahead. Email us at paceandspace@gmail.com. If you want to leave a voicemail, we'll do some mailbag voicemails in the email. And if you want to call us, you'll hear your voice on the pod at 856-295-1602. Sean Barnard, how we doing on this Thursday?
Doing well, Sam Oshtry. Pretty hectic, buzzer beater filled night of basketball last night. We got a Trae Young trade shortly after the Sixers defeating the Wizards. A loss by Washington that changed the trajectory of their franchise that Philadelphia is, as the cause of right there. So overall, it's been good hoops. We've really hit the mid stride of this season. We got some all-star teams to break down right here, and excited to dive into it with you.
Yeah, we got a great show. We got a great show today, and we're going to start with the Trae Young news. We're going to talk about Giannis's quotes that came out today, hit some games from last night. Like you said, a lot of buzzer beaters. We'll show you them, and then we're going to finish the show with our first all-star ballot. There's been 2 returns of the fan voting, and we're going to break down our teams right now. There's still about a month until those teams actually have to be decided. And remember, it's 50% fan vote, 50% media, or excuse me, 25% media and 25% players. So it's kind of always weird how they do that. But we're going to give you our team as of January 8th. But let's start in Atlanta with the Trae Young news. Trae Young, his Atlanta Hawks tenure is officially over after 7.5 interesting years. You had the conference finals running there, but you had a lot of mediocrity for that team and perennial playing appearances, and it ended pretty ugly. And when you revisit it from the beginning, it's really insane to think that Luka Doncic was the guy that Atlanta could have had, and they traded on the draft day trade Luka Doncic for Trae Young. But now 7.5 years later, that trade is that his tenure there is complete. He was traded to the Washington Wizards for Corey Kispert and CJ McCollum. We're going to hit this from both angles, but I want to start with the Hawks' perspective. What did you think about their return, and what are your overall thoughts about the end of the Trae Young era in Atlanta?
Yeah, I think the takeaway here is pretty clearly that they were just done with the Trae Young era, that the return is not something that you're going to be dropping your jaw over or overly excited about. I think Corey Kispert and CJ McCollum both make sense for the way that they want to play. CJ McCollum's a good player, probably an underrated player at this stage of his career, since he's sort of fallen out of the limelight a little bit, since he was making those runs next to Damian Lillard and really a focal point of the Trailblazers. I think he's kind of gotten forgotten there. So I get it from the Hawks' perspective. It's a bummer to me that I do think that fan base really rode for Trae Young, that he was a marketable star in Atlanta and a guy that kind of stepped as the forward-facing face of the franchise. So it kind of leaves a sour taste in my mouth with just how this ended. But I get it why they did it. It's obviously the Jalen Johnson era. They found something without Trae. And I think this is one of those situations where it's less about the specific deal in return as more of a just, we need to change hands. We need to turn a page, and it's time to end the Trae Young era entirely.
Yeah, and it was time. Look, they were 2-8 with Trae Young in the lineup this year, and 15-13 without him in the lineup. They're an obviously better team without him, really because of the evolution and jump of Jalen Johnson, but also because Trae Young is one of the worst, maybe the worst defender as a high minutes guy in the entire NBA. And that's not even hyperbole. He's that bad of a defender. It's really hard to build your team around someone like that and win, even though like Jalen Johnson's a good defender. Dyson Daniels is one of the best defenders in the league. Yeah. This year they have some rim protection when Kristaps is out there, even though he's obviously dealing with some health things. But still, it just didn't matter because when Trae Young's out there, they're going to be a bad defensive team because he's that awful defensively. You can't hide him, and teams constantly target him. And so the offensive stuff is another thing, whether he actually makes his teammates better, because he's obviously incredibly talented, great passer, incredible range, unbelievable shot maker. But does he actually make his teammates better? And after 7 years, I think you can confidently say no. The answer to that is no. He's a losing player. He's an empty stats guy where he can put up big numbers and crazy stat lines, but does that equate to winning? And the answer is no. And my thing with this trade from Atlanta's perspective is you knew this was ending. You knew this was going to end with either a trade or him leaving because you refused to offer him a contract extension last summer when he wanted it. If you knew that was happening when you refused to offer that contract extension and you were even a little bit iffy, why not look to move him a little earlier, or either that last summer or before this season at some point? Because now his value is really low, and you did not get a big return for him at all. You got CJ McCollum, who's a good player. He's going to help you this season, and Corey Kispert, who I mean, he's a fine player. The Wizards aren't staying up at night because they lost Corey Kispert. But the point is that why did you not look to trade him earlier if you knew this was going to end based on you not offering him the contract extension?
Yeah, you're harsher on Trae than I am, but like you're not wrong in all these points right here. The thing that I like saying
But the Hawks
defensively,
were too, right? Like when you really boil it down, the Hawks, by not offering him a contract extension, you know he's not worth what someone else is going to pay him. So he's not going to be there in a year from now anyway.
I do want to circle back to the contract talks from the Wizards' perspective on this Trae situation too. But the thing that I'll say, like a little bit in defense of Trae, is he is a dude who I think cares. He is a dude who competes, and you're right about the defensive deficiencies there. I hear you on the empty calorie statistics, but there's also not a lot of guys that are going to step to center stage of Madison Square Garden, hit a 3-pointer, and shiver at everyone's face and roll dice on midcourt.
He's a showman. He's a showman, no doubt.
He is. And he's also one of the best passers in the entire NBA. That, like, you're right. He's a very unique skill set. It's one that's really difficult to build around. And I don't think they did the best job of doing that in Atlanta. So I think that there has to be a little bit of look in the mirror too. But it was time is really the story to me, is that this is a new era of Hawks basketball. If Jalen Johnson does not take these leaps, I think we're probably having a very different conversation. And the trade probably doesn't even happen at this stage. So I think that's really what forced it when asking the why of why didn't you act more proactively. I don't think anyone could have foreseen this type of leap from Jalen Johnson. Let's not forget, this is the same dude that dropped out after like 10 games at Duke, that we didn't have like a real sample size of what he looked like as a collegiate player, and then him getting injured at the start of his NBA career. So this has been a guy that's like a huge question mark, a huge variable, and he's just smashed through what I think any sort of realistic expectations were. And now we're seeing the franchise kind of react accordingly.
That's a good point, because if they didn't have Jalen Johnson as a potential future face of the franchise, they wouldn't be comfortable making this move and getting Trae Young back for nothing.
Yeah.
And they might just be one of these teams who are fine with being mediocre. You never know when the owner is good with being in the play-in every year. And they maybe would have offered Trae Young a contract extension, or maybe after the summer sign him to a long-term deal he would have completely overpaid him, and you would have always been mediocre playing team at best. But because you have Jalen Johnson now, and Nickeil Alexander-Walker has made a leap, and Zachary Risichet, who was their number one pick a couple years ago.
I like him.
He had a great game last night. He was awesome. Yeah. He's made some leaps. Okongwu has been awesome this year. Like, they have a lot of good pieces, but their number one piece isn't even on the team yet. And that's the Pelicans' number one first round draft pick in this upcoming draft, who they're hoping and expect to be a top 3 pick. You never know, those lottery stuff plays out. It could be a 6, somewhere between 6 to 8, and it's not one of those marquee guys. But if they get one of those top 3 players, and you could even say top 4 coming in, because the top 4 guys in the draft would be number 1 picks in a lot of other drafts, that's a franchise-altering player to pair with a Jalen Johnson, especially if it's a guy like Darren Peterson, because that's the guy, if I'm Atlanta, I would want more than anybody, even though there's a lot going on with him at Kansas and all that. But still, that's a guy I would want to pair with him. So that's the real prize if you're Atlanta and you feel comfortable moving on from Trae because of the Jalen Johnson and the Risichet and all these guys you have in. But it's really because you have that pick that's the most highly prized asset in the league right now.
Yeah. You're 100% right about that. And I will say, if I'm on the clock right now, I'm taking Darren Peterson without much thought, even though the injury stuff is getting a little bit weird, the cramping and everything else going on. But we'll dive down that rabbit hole a little bit deeper another time. Do you give any credence to this Anthony Davis to Atlanta smoke?
Not really, because if you sign Anthony Davis or trade for Anthony Davis right now, you have to sign him to a long-term extension. That'd be the only way it's worth it.
Sure.
I'm not touching Anthony Davis with what he's going to get paid. The guy is always injured. He's getting up there in age. He's just not worth what a team is going to pay him. Whatever team pays him, whether that's Dallas or somewhere else, and Dallas seems reluctant right now to offer him an extension, that team, he's not going to be worth the contract that he plays for, mostly because of his availability, but also because, like, is Anthony Davis even a top 20 player in the league anymore? He's really good. He's really valuable when he's out there. But based on his availability and his real production when he does even play, it's like I don't think he's going to be worth what someone pays him. So if I'm Atlanta, I don't want to attach myself to an aging guy when I have all these young players I want to build around. So I don't think it would be smart for Atlanta. I know people are saying it because they obviously have more cap space now, but I wouldn't do it.
Yeah, I probably wouldn't either. But to be honest, like I wouldn't have done this trade from either side of the equation either. So like I don't know what to.
You wouldn't have done it from the Hawks?
I get it more from the Hawks perspective. And
at this point, like I said, I would have done it earlier from the Hawks. At this point, you might as well get something back. With CJ McCollum's on an expiring contract, but at least you have him for half a year and you clear some salary cap after the year. You'd rather get something back for Trae rather than him walking at the end of the year.
Yeah, I hear that. I mean, they obviously elected. I'm curious what the vibe was behind the scenes, if like what the level of frustration was from both sides of things, which I don't Trey
Well,
doesn't strike me as
can
like a
I, can I say
Mhm.
something on that?
Sure.
How Shams paints his reports, and
Yeah.
obviously has all access to every type of information that anybody would want. But obviously, it's all coming from agents and people like
Yeah.
that, and he has to keep his relationships sound with these people. So how he paints his reports is saying, when you watch on NBA Countdown last night, because the game broke during the game, or the news broke during the games, he's saying this is where Trae Young wanted to go. He got his preferred destination. It's like, dude, Trae Young did not want to go to Washington, D.C. and play for the Wizards. This was the only team that was going to trade for him because there was no market for Trae Young. So it's just funny how that spun, but nobody should believe that for a second. This wasn't his preferred destination like it's being
Well,
painted.
the only way that I kind of think it might be is when you look at where he could legitimately get paid. Like, this is probably the clearest pathway. I still don't think I would do that if I'm Washington. Like, sitting here right now, if you're the Wizards, for starters, I wouldn't have made this trade. That I like the direction they're on. I like the young guys that they have. That I see exciting flashes from Alex Sarr. I think looks really good. You could run down the list of like all their young talent. Trey Johnson, I don't see a fit with him playing with Trae Young pretty much at all. I like Bilal Coulibaly, and you can kind of, I don't know. We'll dive into that deeper. To talk just about the contract situation, if I'm Washington, I'm completely sitting on my hands right now. I'm allowing this dude to pick up his player option at the end of the year. And then next year is going to be kind of a 1-year trial run. It's sort of how I'm looking at this. I've already seen the reports that they don't even know if he's going to play at all this season. I get that because they're obviously in the business of trying to get a top pick as well. I'm allowing next year to be a complete, let's see how this go and make a decision from there.
First off, they need a top 8 pick because
Yeah.
they only have a top 8 protected pick. If they don't get selected in the top 8, that pick is going to New York. Can you imagine if New York gets a lottery pick this offseason? That would be disastrous, worst case scenario for the Wizards. So they have to sit Trae Young or do whatever they can to lose enough games, especially as March and April come around, to make sure they're in that top 8. But even more than that, you want to be in the top 3 or 4. Wizards have not had a lot of lottery luck, and I think they've done things really well, drafting, developing guys. Side note, Alex Sarr is awesome. I mean, I don't watch that much Wizards games, but when I try to go back and do, he always jumps out. I mean, he's already was one of the great defensive player and a great rim protector, can switch on to guards when he was drafted, but now he took a leap offensively too. The guy's driving the ball. He's good touch around the rim. He can finish. He's athletic. I really, really like Alex Sarr's game. But so to your point, they have a lot of nice young guys, but you need the superstar. And that's what this draft they're hoping to get with one of those top 3 picks. So I'm with you where I get it, or I guess I'm not with you because I get making this trade because you're not giving up anything. CJ McCollum's on an expiring deal. You weren't re-signing him. Corey Kispert, like I said, nobody's crying when Corey Kispert's packing his bags. So it's not that big of a deal.
No,
so you really got him for free. So maybe you have like he plays a little bit, develops with the young guys, see how he is. Then he sits or is resting a lot the last month and a half of the season so you can lose more games. By the way, Wizards have been pretty good over the last 12 games, like 6, 5, and 7 or 6 and 7, something like that. But then you don't sign Trae Young. If I'm with Wizards, this is how I'm approaching. I'm not signing Trae Young to a contract extension. If he can opt out and get more money elsewhere, then do it. Be my guest, Trae Young.
I don't think he can.
I don't see it. I don't see it. There wasn't a trade market for him, so I don't really see there being a free agency market for him either. He can opt into that $48, $49 million player option and put him on a 1-year prove-it deal. And then maybe you have that superstar if you get the lottery luck where you can pair Trae Young with and he can develop and you put him on a prove-it year. Maybe you have a great year where he's worth signing to a long-term extension and Trae Young can play with these young guys. Or if not, then you obviously get rid of him. You don't get rid of him. You just don't re-sign him after that player option expires. So it's going to be interesting to see what Trae Young does because he's not getting $49 million from anybody, but every player wants a long-term deal rather than playing on a 1-year prove-it deal. Especially if it's a disastrous year, then the market for him gets even worse. So I don't know what it's going to look like this free agency, but I'm okay with it from the Wizards' perspective as long as they don't sign Trae Young to a long-term deal.
Yeah, I will note on the Alex Sarr conversation, absolute barbecue chicken against Joel Embiid last night, which was quite entertaining to me to watch.
Who is it? Victor Wembanyama is supposed to be the greatest defender of all time, and Embiid had 70 against him.
Yeah, no, you're right about that. And I will note the other critique, like he shot below 40% from the field last year, which just can't happen as a 7-footer. I know he shot a lot from the perimeter. He's a good player. You're right, but he still is raw work in progress. I do think
Let's see
he's
that
going to
this
be,
year. I think that's what I'm saying. I think he's made a huge offensive jump. Yeah, he's
yeah,
at 50% from the field this year,
yeah, like that.
39% to 50%. That's
That's a
quite
big
the leap.
leap. 100%. And he's leading the league in blocks right now, 2.4 per game, I believe is the number for that. So yeah, shout out to Alex Sarr right there. I even had him as an honorable mention as we get to our all-stars in the future list. Couldn't quite do it. He's not there yet, but I do think I think he will make an all-star game at least one during his career. But to get back to the Wizards conversation here. So you're kind of viewing this as Trae Young is like an insurance bet of if we don't land this star, this is kind of a pathway we can go down. Is that how you're looking at this?
Yeah, it's like you're leasing him. You're
Okay.
leasing him. You lease a car and you see how that car drives. You like it for a year or two, and then maybe you extend it and you buy the car if you're really into this car and or this guy in Trae Young's case. That's how I would approach it from the Wizards' perspective, and I think that's what how they are approaching it. They've already said they're not immediately having contract extension talks with them. They'll approach it after the year. Again, it'll be really interesting to see how much he actually plays for the Wizards. I would definitely play him to start. I don't think he's going to sit the rest of the season, but if for some reason they start winning a ton of games, then you have to sit him. But again, I don't think Trae Young's some type of winning player where that's going to happen. So I would definitely play him this season, and then we'll see how it goes from there. But I just wouldn't offer him a long-term deal ever.
Yeah, no, I'm in complete agreement right there. And I will my final point on like the Trae Young conversation is we see all the agents speak, we see it get dressed up in like the direction and vision and basketball joy and whatever other phrase you want to throw out there. It always comes down to money, man. And this is another situation where this is exactly the case that like Trae Young chose the Wizards as his desired destination because this was the clearest path to being paid. And let's even factor in like James Harden. Let's not forget him opting into his player option before demanding a trade or in the process of demanding a trade. Like these guys want to be locked on for the top dollar they possibly can get for obvious reasons. We get the why of that, but I do think that is what drove all of this.
So let's say the Wizards don't have any lottery luck and they finish with like the 7th pick in the draft. If you're the Wizards, do you sign Trae Young to some type of long-term deal? And your mindset would be, we're just done with this tanking stuff. It's not working. The lottery's not working for us. We're not getting the superstar that you want when you tank at the top of the draft. And the one year they got or actually that was the Hawks who got Rich, but still, like it was a bad draft that year with the Hawks and the Wizards were at the top of that draft.
That was Star.
Yeah, it was Rich, then Sarr. Ironically enough, Hawks and Wizards were picking 1 and 2. But if you're the Wizards, are you thinking, you know what, let's just be mediocre at some point? Like we've got no lottery luck being awful. Let's just be mediocre. And Trae Young could be a pathway towards being a mediocre playing team in a bad East.
I would consider it. I'll say this. I'm kind of buying stock in Trey Johnson. Speaking of like the Wizards
Good
backcourt.
player. I mean, he's a really good scorer, but he's more like a microwave scorer to me. Like I could see him being a really good 6-man off the bench.
I think he's more than that. Like I think he could be like a lead the team in scoring type of guy. Like he's got some alpha energy to him.
Not on a good team.
We'll see. I mean, these are questions that they're gonna have to like figure out and like allow guys to play with each other. I don't love it. If I'm the Wizards, I would have stood on my hands last night. I get it. You're kind of talking me into it from like the insurance policy thing, as if the lottery does not fall their way. I like the pathway they were on. I like the direction they're on, and I think this was sort of skipping a step to an extent. And I think teams get punished when they try and do that. So we'll see how the chips do fall. Not really remotely the blockbuster trade that I would have ever imagined Trae Young has moved in.
There was just no market for him. And imagine telling someone back in 2021. The Sixers are up 3-2 over the Hawks. Ben Simmons forgets that he even how to play basketball. They lose, or they were up 3-1 actually, the Sixers, and they blow that series. And the Hawks are in the conference finals back in 2021. 4 years later, 5 years later, whatever, that Trae Young will be traded for Corey Kispert and CJ McCollum on an expiring deal. Nobody would believe it for a second, and that's how far he's fallen as a player and his perception around the league as a winning player. And it's really crazy to consider.
Yeah, it is. It's a bummer to me, man. Like, I don't know why I have some admiration for Trae. Like, I kind of do. I like that he's
I'll
like.
Tell you why. Because he did the whole thing with the Knicks. Bing Bong was started because of Trae Young. And anybody who's beating the Knicks, you like.
I certainly hated him when he was beating the Sixers too. So like I remember those quite vividly as well. But I think I respect like he's always going to be the littlest guy on the floor, and he never has any fear, man. Like, he's going to go out and give you what he's got. He's going to take bad shots. He's going to, make stupid plays, not be able to defend anyone. But I kind of have a respect for like the scrappiness and the level that he competes at. And I think that might play in Washington to an extent.
There's some personality stuff with him too that I wouldn't love. If I was signing him to a long-term contract extension, but that's a different conversation. Let's keep moving to another player who could be on the move, couldn't be on the move. No one really knows. The Giannis situation is one of the weird situations, and we're only talking about today again because there was some new quotes. He did an interview, a great interview with Sam Amick from The Athletic, and one of the things he said was, "I'm not going anywhere. I'm invested in this team. I want to turn this team around. I want to play good basketball. I want to be healthy. I want to help my teammates." And he pretty much doubled down saying he would never and has never asked for a trade. And I'm going to give the floor to you because I'm a little conflicted. I see you calling Cat immediately. Like, either he's lying through his teeth and he's just having his agents handle it, but he's obviously telling his agents what to do because agents don't go rogue for anything the player doesn't want, or he's as loyal as it gets. So which one do you think it is?
I think he definitely cares for Milwaukee a great bit, the fan base, the city, and he wants in his heart to be loyal. I think he 1,000% wants out of Milwaukee, and he 1,000%.
Why wouldn't he have done it? So that I hear you on that, but why wouldn't he have done it already?
I think he cares a ton about his image and is trying really hard to not be the bad guy, that he does not want to be the James Harden of, projecting it out in the open or being one of these headline stories. But at the same time, that's almost more annoying to me of like, dude, just say what you want or do it. Like it makes complete sense for this to be the breakup time. You won a championship there. You've been MVP there. You've done everything for that franchise. You've given them everything. And frankly, from their perspective, it makes sense to get a haul for one of the guys that's still one of the best players in the NBA and begin to reset. They've tried this repackage, the trades for Kyle Kuzma and Damian Lillard and all these other things that they've attempted to make work. They won a championship. They accomplished their goal. It's time to move to a new era, and that's the best case for both sides. So what I think it is from Giannis's perspective is he 1,000% wants out of there, but he does not want to look like the bad guy in doing so.
I get that, and it makes complete sense, but I don't get that read for some reason because, like, at this point, what's the pathway to not looking like the bad guy? Like, he's going to request but then a trade's never happening. A trade's never happening unless he requests a trade. If you're Milwaukee, you were never trading a player that talented unless he says explicitly, "I'm requesting a trade." It doesn't matter if it's him or his agents. He can avoid it and have it go through a third party all he wants. But if his agents tell Milwaukee, trade Giannis, he wants out, that's still the report. It's that Giannis has requested a trade, even if he doesn't tell John Horst, the Bucks GM, directly. That's still requesting him a trade. So I think it really is that he is that loyal and doesn't want to be one of these guys who requested a trade or quit on anything. And then I respect that. Like, I honestly respect that. Now, he's going to be a free agent in 2027. That's when he can opt out of his deal. Do I think there's any way he would finish his career after 2027 in Milwaukee if they're still on the same trajectory where they have no chance of really winning or don't get him any surrounding talent? No, I don't think that would be the case. But if he sticks this out, I would respect it. I really would.
I mean, yeah, he's accomplished everything he needs to. Like, he's got the MVP. He's got the ring on his finger. He's an unbelievable basketball player. He's still one of the 5 best players in the league, straight up. Like, he's that good still at this level.
By the way, the Bucks are like a pretty good team when he plays. They're 11th in the East right now, but they really slipped because he was out for a few weeks and missed a ton of time. They're a really good team when he's actually on the floor, and certainly when he's even active for games.
And I do think a portion of this conversation is like Giannis being rightfully so enough of like a psycho confidence guy that says, I'm clearly the best player in the Eastern Conference. I can beat any of these teams in front of me almost single-handedly. Now, granted, like, his supporting cast is rough, man. Like, I love Ryan Rollins. He's a stud. Miles Turner, huge disappointment for how he's looked like. Like, there's just not enough when you run down the list of what that roster has talent-wise. Kyle Kuzma, you're going to get the games where he's, fun to watch and get the games where he's an absolute experience. Yeah, I just don't see enough on this Milwaukee roster overall, even with Giannis being that good. And I think to some extent, as honorable as it is, just be straight up and say, I'm ready to go somewhere new.
But so how does this actually end? Because if he doesn't get traded by this deadline, I don't think he'll get traded next summer. Obviously, the conversations will start up again. You'll hear all the reports. But why would you waste this entire season? If you were going to request a trade, why wouldn't you have done it before this season? That's why I kind of buy it when he says, I'm not requesting a trade. That's not my nature. That's not how I roll. Why, if he was going to do it, why wouldn't you do it before this season? So you have a whole season with a new team. If you trade it for a guy in the middle of the season, it never leads to a championship. Doesn't matter how good they are. We've seen that throughout NBA history time and time again. And next year, it's like you just wasted an entire year. Why would you wait till the summer 26? So I really think he would take it all the way to the summer 27 when he can opt out of his deal if it doesn't happen by this deadline. I really believe that.
Where we differ here is I think he definitely has requested a trade. That I think that conversation was had this summer.
Why didn't it happen?
Well,
I guess request and demand are two different words, right?
Also true.
Definitely has demanded a trade. He definitely has not demanded a trade.
He's committed to not being a distraction or an uproar and not like do all the disruptive stuff to a franchise, which other players certainly have done. The Jimmy Butlers, the James Harden. That's not how Giannis is wired. I think that is certainly true. I do think he doesn't want to be there. I do think that he's expressed that to the organization. I also think from the Bucks perspective, this isn't a Trae Young conversation where you get whatever you can get. You have to make sure you get an actual rebuilding package that launches you into a new era. That doesn't just come on every day here. Like, you got to be pretty selective on what those type of offers are. And like, as great as Giannis is, he is kind of a niche player, that he's a very unique way that you have to play, the players that you have surrounding him. He isn't plug and play on every single roster. There's not like this, while every team should have a level of an interest to an extent, like you got to be pretty like specific in the players that you have surrounded him with for it to work as a team. So it's not like Paul George popping on the market or one of these guys you can plug and play. I think there's a lot of variables to it.
Windhorst reported earlier this season, I think before the season even started, that the Knicks had some exclusive window where they could negotiate with the Bucks, and the Bucks really only approached the Knicks because everybody's known that New York is a potential landing spot if Giannis does become available. James Dolan did an interview this week. He said that's absolutely not true. I don't necessarily believe him on that. But the Knicks they wouldn't have the best package in the league, and they probably didn't offer enough of a package where the Bucks would have been interested. But that has been reported.
Yeah, I believe that to be true. Like, I'm sure the Knicks had a window at it. I'm sure Giannis had those exact conversations. I also, like, if I'm the Bucks, I'm not saying there is like some level of loyalty that they want to do right by their guy. But I'm viewing this as I'm taking the best possible offer. If that's Houston, if that's San Antonio, if that's the Sacramento Kings, which it absolutely would not be. But like, the point being here, like, you got to get what you can to launch yourself into a new era. And I don't think that offer has probably crossed their plate.
Probably not. All right, let's keep it moving here. We're going to talk about some games last night. Really, we're just going to touch on the Lakers a little bit, who lost badly to the Spurs. They'd won 3 in a row coming in. But they lost badly to the Spurs. All 3 of those wins were against teams that were sub 500. Spurs were 2-4 in the last 6 games after beating the Thunder twice in 3 days. So they hit a little bit of a rough patch in the season, if you want to call it. But again, the Knicks did too. Both those teams play an extra game and had a tighter schedule off the NBA Cup. So I think there's something to be said about coming off an NBA Cup championship game, playing an extra game. Teams are going to hit a rough patch. The Spurs and Knicks have certainly been 2 of those teams that we've seen do that. But then the Spurs come out and just blow out the Lakers. Spurs had complete control of that game. Again, LeBron didn't play yesterday because it was a back-to-back. He doesn't play back-to-backs these days. Austin Reeves is still out with an injury. Jared Vanderbilt has been in the rotation for the Lakers mostly because of how bad they've been defensively, and he's one of their best defensive players. He showed some good stuff.
Sohan a piece of his mind after that game.
Absolutely. I know you want to touch a little bit on the Lakers, so I'm giving you the floor. What are your thoughts on the state of the Lakers right now?
I mean, JJ Redick saying, I don't know what else I can do is a pretty damning quote from a head coach at this stage of the season right here.
I'll be honest, I wouldn't know what else you can do either.
The Luka defense is the worst it's ever been. And I don't know how to fix that except basically like man-to-man challenging the dude. And I would guess JJ Redick has tried that attempt. I would guess that he has gone that direction of you simply have to be better than what you're giving us. You have to care on this side of the floor more than you are showing, because what is most frustrating to me about the Luka Doncic defense conversation, which this is me leading with, he's been atrocious. He has been one of the worst defenders in the league straight up right now. When he locks in and competes, he's a passable, borderline good defender. And it is maddening to me to watch him go through the motions. And I get it. He's leading the league in scoring. He's got a ton on his offensive plate. His body's beaten down. He's got a million miles of basketball on him. It's still unacceptable. And on the other side of things, LeBron James, man, I'm watching him practice his golf swing on the bench last night and do all these kind of things. When he's actually on the floor, this has not exactly been basketball that I think translates to winning in my mind. Is he putting up numbers? Is he finding his way? Does he have his flashes where it looks really good? For sure. But I think the reality is these two guys, as your top dog stars, have not delivered as top dog stars this year. And I know Reeves is not there. We can have the conversation about Gabe Vincent not being good enough, Jared Vanderbilt, the inconsistent shooting, DeAndre Ayton, who's one of the worst watches in the league when he is not playing remotely well right now. But I think this boils down to your top two stars have not delivered for the Lakers.
They have offensively. They're really fun to watch offensively. And LeBron has been playing much better on that end of the floor. Neither of them play defense. Like, that's what it comes down to. And Austin Reeves is even worse. And when you have that bad of a point of attack defense, everybody can just knife in the lane, collapse the defense, give up so many threes. But you also give up shots at the rim. You don't have any rim protection. Teams are really good at putting Luka Doncic in low man scenarios. And his rim protection is awful. He can't get off the ground. And DeAndre Ayton was better to start the year on that end, but I think it slipped a little bit. This team doesn't play any defense, so it doesn't matter how great they are offensively. But at the end of the day, this isn't a roster built around Luka Doncic. It's just not. Luka Doncic needs great 3-and-D wings who can shoot, like that Mavs roster that went to the championship. Like, that is the blueprint for a Luka Doncic championship run. You had Kyrie Irving, secondary ball handler, creator, scorer. Austin Reeves can be that, but he's, again, really bad defender too. But then you have P.J. Washington and Derrick Jones Jr., who would be the primary assignments or primary defenders on the other team's best players. And you had Derek Lively, a rim-running threat, and a great rim protector, and Daniel Gafford. That is how you build a roster around Luka. And I don't believe that they have that right now. I know for a fact they don't have that right now, and they're not a real contender or a threat in the West because of that. And then the other thing is, how are they going to get there? It starts with LeBron James isn't going to be on this team next year unless he really takes like some mid-level exception, a massive, massive pay cut for him. I don't trust Rob Pelinka to build this team properly around Luka Doncic. And they have a new ownership group coming in who obviously Jeannie Buss has a great relationship with Rob Pelinka. Rob Pelinka was Kobe Bryant's agent, and that's really why he got the job, because he had such a great relationship with Jeannie through Kobe Bryant and being around the Lakers a lot. When Jeannie Buss isn't there anymore and Mark Walter comes in as the owner, who's the owner of the Dodgers, I'm not so sure Rob Pelinka is going to be around with Los Angeles that much longer. And I think they're going to need a kind of a reset from top down. I think JJ Redick's a great coach still, even if you don't like some of the antics and quotes and behavior, arrogance, whatever you want to call it. I still think he's a great coach. But they do need a reset from top on down to build this roster around Luka, because he's here for the long haul, but this is not a team that can win anything this year.
I got a name for the front office role.
I know what you're going to say.
Nico Harrison's out there.
No. I'm going to say someone else. No, that guy's never getting a job in basketball ever again.
Yeah, I think that's probably right. But the funny part about this, like, obviously we've talked in depth about the Luka trade, the Anthony Davis trade. Prior to that, he did an excellent job building a roster around Luka Doncic. Like, all those trades, the PJ Washington.
Every trade was a massive risk, and that paid off.
Yeah. Like, he did an incredible job up until then. And I will say, in his defense a little bit here, he's never going to be on the right in this entire equation. Do you think he watches the way Luka hobbles around there some nights and thinks like, yeah, dude, like, I was completely right?
He is Luka's biggest hater in the world. He probably hate watches every single Luka Doncic Lakers game and just speaks into the void to anyone who will listen about saying, I was right, watch this guy, doesn't play defense, out of shape, always injured, yada, yada, yada. That'll validate the rest of his life. Forget career. That'll validate the rest of his life if Luka Doncic somehow is a failure as a basketball player. But he's a guy where he's that gifted offensively, one of the best players we've seen, most accomplished players we've seen at his age, where you scrap everything and build it around him to his strengths and to his weaknesses, which of course is defense. And that's how the Lakers need to approach this thing. They're in fourth in the West right now. The Nuggets, the Spurs, and the Thunder are still ahead of them. They maybe could catch the Nuggets, but they've been all right at 3-2 since Jokic went down. And
they're pretty good without your boy.
And he should be back even within the end of this month, honestly, or the reports. So I don't think they're going to get any higher than 4. I could see the Rockets catching them, the Wolves catching them. I could see them slip into like the 6th seed because their schedule is going to get much harder. Austin Reeves coming back will help. But like JJ Redick said, that you said to start this thing, he doesn't know what he can do anymore. There's nothing to do. It's a roster devoid of defense, and you can't play any defense. You're not going to win enough games, and that's where the Lakers are at right now.
He may not be wrong, but if I could give a little bit of advice to JJ Redick, is probably never say that in front of the mic, like ever again. Like maybe not the best look.
I think he's great in front of them. I mean, obviously we knew he was great in front of the mic as a media guy, but it's translated to the coaching. He's an awesome quote. His rant after Christmas, where he was just tearing his guys apart. I love it.
I would not want to hear, if I'm a player, my coach say, I don't know what else I can do, in the way that JJ just by his own admission that he willingly said that out there. So I don't know. To touch on your Nuggets point right there, does it say anything about the 3-time MVP, that this team looks pretty good without him? That Zeke Naji kind of looks like Nikola Jokic without him?
What?
He's been unbelievable, Sam Oshtry.
No, he's been good. We were at the game the other night. He's been good. He's
unbelievable.
Like Jokic. I said Derek Queen looks like Jokic, and you wouldn't even acknowledge that for a second.
I'm just asking the question of, could he be a system player?
No, he is the system. He's the sun. He's the universe, the solar system.
3-2 without him. 3-2
he's the
without
greatest player, greatest offensive player, maybe of all time. So we'll save that
player of all time. Yep.
All right, before we go into All-Star games, we're going to pick our All-Star games, start with the East, go to the West. Let's have a little mid-segment show fun. We're going to play 3 buzzer beaters last night. It was a pretty crazy night in the NBA. So we're going to play 3 buzzer beaters, and I'm just going to ask you to show everyone and see which one your favorite was. So this one is from Shai Gilgeous-Alexander.
Yep.
The Thunder were about to lose 4 straight games. So, and they were down 2 to the Jazz. Shai, which is obviously he gets to his spots at will. That one of the left elbow or one of his spots, but he just elevates and kind of has to dumble pump in the air for a second. An unbelievable mid-range shot from him to force overtime. The Thunder end up winning in overtime. If they lose this game to the Jazz, this is one of those, like, the sky is falling in Oklahoma City games. But let's watch this real quick.
Bang. I do think he does that double pump like a lot too, Shai. He's very good at it, and that's an impressive shot right there. You're absolutely right about the context of how important that was that they needed it. A little hot take of mine right here. I think Sam Presti's going to make a pretty seismic trade at the deadline. I think he is. I think Trey Murphy is my prediction for who it's going to be. I have a hard time believing he just sits on his hand given the assets that they do have.
Really? What are you giving up for Trey Murphy?
Maybe a Caruso as a.
What does Caruso do for the Pelicans? You want a young like Aaron Wiggins?
Sure. AJ Mitchell?
Yeah, AJ Mitchell, they think really high of right now.
I don't know. I think very high of Trey Murphy.
The thing is, he's always been a steady, patient guy. That's how Sam Presti has gotten to where he is, how he's got the Thunder to where they are, where he could have made a lot of crazy, wild moves at certain points, but he's always kind of had the same approach, let this core build together. So I think it's going to let them take bumps together. And I won't think he's let me make a panic move, a desperate move at the deadline type of guy.
I just think it's cocky if he believes this team just can run the table from here on out. That I like
cocky. I think the proof is there from last year of like, this is what we can be when we're playing our best. Let Jalen Williams get back to the player that he was because he missed the first 18 or so games of the year. Let's have Isaiah Hartenstein get healthy. I don't think it's cocky. I think it's kind of smart.
I just view it as when the championship window is open, which it obviously is for the defending champions who are only getting better, you should do everything possible to maximize it. And I think these assets don't do you any good in the long haul if you allow that window to sort of drift close.
That's fair. That's fair. All right, let's move it on to the Man Quickly's buzzer, which maybe was my favorite of the night.
Mine as well.
1.6 to go. Mamu quickly for the win.
Bang.
Another crazy game. What do you think about this one?
Yeah, and the LaMelo 2-pointer to right beforehand to take the lead was pretty impressive too. Just taking an ISO, doing all his LaMelo dribble stuff, blowing past the guy and landing it and being all fired up. And then Emmanuel quickly, man. Shout out to my guy Mamu with the inbounds pass here, which I love that. That was my favorite buzzer beater of the night to tip my hand there.
This one might have been the craziest. So this one was how they got to overtime was wild. Igor Demon scored, I believe, the last 10 points or 10 straight points
for the
Nets in that game. And I have a lot of stock in Igor Demon, obviously from the draft. He was one of my guys. Con Knipple was one of my guys. Derek Queen was one of my guys. So I'm 2 for 2 right now, or 2 for 3. And there's a lot of different pronunciations for his name. Igor Demin, however you pronounce it, he's really struggling to get to the rim and get in the paint. And you called that out early this year. But what's been positive from him is his three-point shooting. That was the biggest concern coming into the year. He shot 27% for BYU last year, 69% from the foul line, 29% from three. He's shooting the ball really well. He has a good shot. Like, it's a good form, good mechanics. So I wasn't that concerned with it when we were doing some of his draft tape stuff. But I've been really impressed with his shooting this year. His passing was the best passer in the draft. If he can find a way to get downhill consistently and collapse the defense, his passing will go to a whole nother level, and his playmaking will improve even more because he has great vision. So that's the next step for him, because he's a big body, but he's really struggling to get downhill and break off defenders and get by them. So that's the next step for him. But he's had a good 3-4 week stretch here.
Yeah, I think it took him to his 9th or 10th game that he made a non-3-point basket this season. Yeah. And that's something that has to be fixed in the long haul, that you just have to have the threat of you driving. And he's too big for that to be an issue. He's stringy. He's got to add some weight for sure, but you're too long for you not to be able to get around the rim and finish somehow. He's been better than I expected would be the case. And I will say, to your point about the shooting, what sort of scared me about him is he's always been a confident shooter. He's been a bad confident shooter. You watch the BYU tape, he's pulling up from deep pretty regularly right there.
And that was a positive for sure.
Yeah, I view that as kind of a negative because he did not have the actual skill to knock.
Yeah, but that
down.
means he never lost confidence in his shot.
Sure. Yeah.
Especially for a young prospect. If you're 10 years in the league doing that, that's a different thing. For a young prospect, if you have the confidence in his shot, even when it's not going in, and that confidence never wavers, I'm looking at it as a scout, as that's a positive.
I mean, you just shredded Trae Young for the first 20 minutes of this for a similar issue right here. I get
Trae Young's different. I mean, the defense, he's a smaller guard. And there's also 7-year sample size of this.
Sure.
Not him coming out of college.
Sure. But nonetheless, I'll let you play this last buzzer beater here.
Yes. So I forgot why we even started talking about Igor Demin, because he hit a game-winning, or he had a game-tying three to send it to overtime that was banked in. And it's a wild overtime game. And then you have this shot right here from Paolo Banchero, who also banks it in for the win. But did you see what happened with this game?
Yes.
A lot of controversy, where when I was looking at it, I was like, it really looks like his foot is on the line here.
Pretty clearly.
Yeah. And then I was like, so I didn't I didn't think too much of it because I wasn't watching this one live. And I didn't think too much of it. Because, all right, they obviously went to the replay and found out that his foot wasn't on the line. But then I found out they couldn't find an angle of it, a clear and proper angle of, did you see that? They couldn't find a clear and proper angle of that. So they couldn't even properly review it. And it was just nothing conclusive. So the call stood.
I'm not gonna lie, I did not see that portion of things. I saw this clip live.
Unless I got spoofed by some account, I'm pretty sure that's what happened.
That is wild. I will shout out the Magic social media team that tweeted this video out and blew up the size of the scoreboard so you could not see his feet there.
Because otherwise, how would you not obviously this what's going on?
I almost think that is enough evidence for me. It looks. It reminded me a lot of the Kevin Durant shot. I guess the Nets is obviously an aspect of why, but
that's one of the greatest what ifs of the last half
big
decade,
time.
If his foot is a centimeter behind that 3-point line.
Big time. Everyone's talked about different. Kevin Durant is, Giannis is, James Harden is, Kyrie Irving is. If they had won that game on that shot and his toe was not on line, if Kevin Durant is a shoe size smaller, the history of basketball is pretty starkly different. So that is one of those big butterfly effect moments.
Absolutely. All right, let's keep it moving here, and let's go into our NBA All-Star selections. So we're probably going to do this closer to the All-Star game too, which is, I believe, February 15th, 16th that weekend. But we're 6 weeks out. They'll announce it in a little over a month. But the voting's in, or at least the voting from the fans, the first two ballots are in. And let's just go through it and discuss who we have as our All-Stars. So let's start with the East. Are you good with that?
Yeah, works for me.
All right, so here's how we're going to do this. I only have 6 absolute locks in the East, indisputable guys. There's no way you can make an argument against them being an all-star. So I'll read this 6. You tell me if you disagree with any, and then you also tell me if you have any you want to add to the absolute locks, all right?
Sure.
Giannis, Cade Cunningham, Tyrese Maxey, Jaylen Brown, Donovan Mitchell, Jalen Johnson, and I was forgetting one. I knew Jalen Brunson.
Yeah.
There's 7, actually. My bad.
Yeah, I think all those guys should absolutely are no doubter all-stars in my mind. I did break mine down into like starters reserve. The 5 that I looked at, and it's sort of positionless, but I think kind of the NBA is at this stage. Giannis is the big man for it. I think is undeniable. Jaylen Brown, I think, is an MVP candidate. It has to be. And then I think the next 3 best players in the entire Eastern Conference are Maxey, Cade, and then I was flip-flopping between Mitchell and Brunson. I think Brunson, I probably give the edge there. I think that is the top 5 in the
Nicest thing
East.
you've ever said about him.
Yeah, yeah. But I'm with you with Jalen Johnson being right on the heels. Like, he's a no doubter in my mind, absolutely. So I think that's a fair top 7.
So how they do the starters, I believe it's still 3 forwards and 2 guards, right?
I think so, yeah. So
So
that won't work. Unless you call
so I think the forwards are Giannis, Jaylen Brown's technically a forward based on his position listing, and Jalen Johnson. Those are my
Yeah.
and I would go guards. I would go it's like I don't want those 3 players, Maxey, Brunson, and Cade. We can have a longer debate about them at some points, but whenever you debate which player is better, you have to tear down the other guy. And those 3 guys are all having unbelievable years. I would go right now, Brunson and Tyrese Maxey as the 2 starting guards.
It's fascinating how like stylistically different they are too. Like they all go about their approach significantly different. Like Maxey's obviously the spark of energy in life, and I think pops off the page in a different way. But both those guys, like Cade and Brunson, are so ball dominant and so like central to their team and running the entire offense. I won't get into the tear down anybody for this one. We'll keep the positive vibes. The bench was a little bit tougher, and I know that you mentioned there are a couple guys that you don't think are fully deserving. I'll start. I'm gonna leave.
Give me your next 3. Give me your next 3.
The next 3. So with the top 5 being Maxey, Cade, Brunson, Giannis, and Jaylen Brown as my top 5, which I know is a little hairy on the position stuff, but that's the way I kind of my brain landed on it. My next 3 would be Donovan Mitchell, Jalen Duren, who I think is a no doubter, and then Jalen Johnson, who I didn't have in my initial starting 5. The next one that I would bring up that I do think, and you're gonna love this, is Karl Anthony Towns. I think you have to have him in there, and that's what also made me realize is there's not a lot of good big men in the East right now.
I debated Karl Anthony Towns for a while, and I don't think he's an all-star in the West.
I agree.
His three-point shooting's down, his scoring is down, his field goal percentage is down. Everything is down for Karl Anthony Towns. We know what he is defensively, and that's not all his fault. Like, I wouldn't say he's having a bad year. It's a lot of it has to do with the new system that he's adjusting to, and he's probably sacrificed the most playing more as like a passer and a hub. And I think he's a very underrated passer, but he's definitely sacrificed touches and shots and all those things in this new system. So I don't think it's all his fault.
To interject, good for one of those what was that passes like every game.
Well, he loves to throw like this is why people call him like zesty because of the no look flair. But he loves to throw like make up a pass that doesn't need to be a no look into a no look. He's the king.
Correct. Yes.
But then you really dive into the numbers and like how the rest of the East shakes out. He's a no doubt all-star. It would be a travesty if he doesn't make the all-star team. So I have him. He's a 2010 machine. So I have him in there. So I gave you my top 7. They're absolute locks. Cade, Maxey, Jalen Johnson, Jaylen Brown, Donovan Mitchell, Jalen Brunson. And then I have Karl Anthony Towns, Jalen Duren, and Scotty Barnes as my no doubters. Those are my next 3 guys.
I didn't have Scotty Barnes on mine. I had him as an honorable mention. I do think it's close.
Is that all-star to you?
Correct.
Wow.
He's close. I have 3 names that are all first-time all-stars that I slightly edged him out to me. You want to hear them?
Yeah.
Number 1 is Norman Powell.
Yeah, I have him.
Okay, have him.
Okay, yeah.
Number 2 is Josh Giddey. No. You say no to that?
He's maybe in the first month of the season, he's regressed a lot. The Bulls have regressed a lot. He's been injured a bunch.
Yeah.
No, Josh Giddey's not an all-star.
I believe he has more points, rebounds, and assists per game than Scotty. My brain is correct, when I looked at that earlier.
It could be true because the assists get him there.
Yeah, for sure. I think in each individual category he scores or tallies more. Nonetheless, team success has to matter, and the Raptors have far exceed my expectations, so I get the case with it. The last name, which I think you're going to completely reject this one, I think Michael Porter Jr. is an all-star this year.
That was my guy.
Look at that.
I thought I was going to make it. I thought I was going to be the guy who like make this whole thing about Michael Porter Jr. somehow being an all-star this year. I have him on the all-star ballot.
He's been great, man. He's been great.
I can't believe I'm putting Michael Nelk Porter on the all-star game. As much as we make fun of this podcast legend that he is, I can't believe that he's an all-star. But it's not like it's not like a thing where he went to a really bad team, he's getting so many shots, and his efficiency's really dipped, and he's just scoring a ton. He's top 15 league in scoring, but his efficiency has been awesome.
Yeah.
And he's playing like alongside Igor Demon. He's been really good too. When Igor Demon's run the point, he's playing off the ball. Like he's in every single action. They're running so much to get him touches, and he's really efficient with those touches. And the Nets everyone knows the Nets were the best defense in the league in December. He's bought in defensively a little bit too. Like he's locked in. As much as people are making fun of his offseason, Michael Porter Jr. is having an incredible year. And I usually like to factor in team success, but this Nets team, they're not good, but they're feisty and they're fun right now. And if they keep it up and Michael Porter Jr. keeps this scoring and efficiency up, he's an all-star.
Yeah, and to lay out like some of the stats for it, he's averaging a career high 26.1 points per game, a career high 7.5 rebounds, a career high 3.3 assists. He's shooting 49.5% from the field, which is right below his career average of 49.9 on like way harder, way more difficult attempts. And his 3-point percentage, he's shooting 41.1% on 9.4 attempts per game. That's above his career average of 40.7%. Mind you, most of the looks that he's had for his career are like open spot up looks created by one of the better passers in basketball history, according to Sam Oshtry right there. So like to have to self-create at the level that he has, it's pretty ridiculous that he's still connecting at the efficiency. Like some of these are not good shots that he is taking, and he's hitting them at a pretty high rate. So Michael Porter Jr., sneaky, one of the more underrated players in this league.
Absolutely. And I have him as an all-star too. I thought that was going to be really controversial from me, but I guess we agree on that because we don't agree on much. I will say I messed up the numbers on this list. I can't really count properly for some reason. And so I have to knock a guy off. And so because
you got 13?
Yeah, because I forgot like a no-brainer. I think it was Brunson or Donovan Mitchell, who was a no-brainer. So we have the top 9 we completely agree on, which is Cade, Maxey, Giannis, Jalen Johnson, Jaylen Brown, Donovan Mitchell, Jalen Brunson, Cat, Jalen Duren.
Yeah.
So I have 4 guys left for 3 spots, and that's Scotty Barnes, who I'm definitely putting in, Evan Mobley, Norman Powell, and Michael Porter Jr. And I think you obviously don't have him on the list. I think I'm about knocking Evan Mobley off.
Yeah, I did. I have him in my honorable mentions category here, but I don't see it, man. Like I have not felt the impact of Evan Mobley in pretty much any Cavs game that I've watched this year. Like, yes, the stats are still there. There's some areas where you can kind of point to a little bit of regression from him. He's not I think, and this is going to sound mean, I fear that Evan Mobley may be a little bit Rudy Gobert-like. And what I mean by that is like the advanced metrics are always going to fail.
That's not fair, though.
Rudy Gobert, better offensively.
Evan Mobley can make an outside shot.
Yeah.
He can play in the short roll. He can pass. He can drive. Like he can do things Rudy Gobert has never been able to do his entire career. You're scared about throwing the ball to Rudy Gobert at any point of the floor, other than if it's an offensive rebound putback.
You're right. Like he's better. But my point being with that is like, I think the advanced analytics and metrics are always going to favor him to a level that I'm just not sure I necessarily feel when I watch him play. And I think Mobley's a guy who won Defensive Player of the Year last year. We should be fearful of him as a defender. And his thing is kind of how he's like switchable 1 through 5. I feel like all too regularly I see guys attack him and are successful. And that kind of puts a lot of pause in how I view him as a player.
So I don't have him as an all-star either, which was really hard for me. I think he will be an all-star. Like this is our teams right now, and there's a month to go. I don't like Michael Porter Jr. probably is not going to actually make an all-star based on the coaches and fan votes and the coaches select the reserves, right?
Yeah. I will say, I think he's probably far more respected in NBA circles than like the general fan base.
Michael Porter Jr.?
Yeah.
Oh, I would say the opposite. Maybe as a basketball player, I think all the other stuff, I think it's the opposite. He's far less respected than almost anybody because of all the other stuff.
Do you see the Adelman quote on him, by the way, when it was Nuggets Nets?
Remind me of it.
And by the way, the Nets coming out with a victory in that matchup with Michael Porter Jr. leading the way in that. But they asked him, and Adelman said, "I miss having Mike in the locker room." And like when you think about these days, like there's not a lot of people that just speak their mind. Mike will. Like if you ask him something, he's gonna tell you how he feels. And I always kind of like that about him, which I thought was just a hilarious quote.
Yeah, I mean, I think the whole world knows that's how he is.
Yeah.
But so Evan Mobley will be an all-star, but right now I'm knocking him off the list. His scoring is slightly down, his efficiency is slightly down, his true shooting percentage down, field goal percentage down, all that stuff is down this year. And it's not like it's remarkably down. He's still a really good player, and defensively, we know his impact. But the Cavs have been really bad, and he was hurt for a stretch, and he doesn't deserve that recognition this year like he was getting last year when the Cavs were really good and he made this huge leap. He's kind of plateaued a little bit, and that leap hasn't come. And maybe that's unfair to ding him for not making another leap. But right now, Scotty Barnes deserves it over him. Norman Powell deserves it over him, and Michael Porter Jr., I want to put him as an all-star, so I'm going to do it. So those are my guys. That's my list. So who are your last three?
So my last three were Norman Powell, Josh Giddey, and Michael Porter Jr. So Giddey's the only one that we really differ on. The last note that I do want to make, and I fully stand on, these guys do not deserve to be all-stars. It's embarrassing that neither Franz Wagner or Paolo Banchero have a legitimate all-star case.
Banchero was my first miss, other than Mobley, my first guy off the list. He very well might make an all-star game, especially because it's coach's decisions, and he's playing better lately. But I agree with you. Like, the fact that the Magic don't have an all-star this year is an indictment of where they're at as an organization right now. I don't know how you don't have Scotty Barnes in there. He's one of the best defensive players in basketball. He's so impactful. The Raptors are good. I mean, the Raptors are 4th seed in the East right now, and winning matters to me in this scenario for all-stars. And maybe that's inconsistent to stay when I put Michael Porter Jr. in there, but like, I'm not doing that frequently. Over Josh Giddey, who's on a really bad team now. The Bulls have really sucked the last few weeks, last couple of months even. Scotty Barnes deserves that recognition.
He may win me over. Like, he is right on my honorable mention list right here. I broke it down for the East, a little different in the West because we were jamming guys in, but the Eastern Conference, I broke it down into 2 categories of honorable mention and guys that should be, but I don't think deserve. And the should be, but don't, I had Mobley and then Franz and Paolo. In the honorable mentions, I had Scotty there. I threw Alex Sarr's name in there. And the last guy I want to bring up, Pascal Siakam, man. I understand the Pacers are atrocious. He's been really good this year and consistently pretty excellent. I don't think he gets in because of the team success aspect, and he has not, like, Michael Porter Jr. has been better than him if we're going to do the apples-to-apples comparison there. But Siakam, I think, deserves to at least be mentioned.
Yeah, he's been good, but again, I'm not rewarding the worst team in the league. Those teams don't deserve any all-stars. So my honorable mentions, I guess you could call it just missed. I made a list for that too. Evan Mobley, of course, is on there. I got Brandon Ingram in there, who's having a really good year, but isn't quite an all-star. Paolo Banchero. Derek White deserves some all-star consideration at the very least. He's the second best player on the best offense in the league right now and one of the best teams in the league. Michael Porter Jr. I have in there, actually. Knipple, like, a little bit of all-star love in the East. When the East isn't as good, not as many talented players, Knipple deserves some love. OG Anunoby deserves a little bit of love. Nah. And the last guy I have Pascal Siakam too. And the last guy I have here is, I'm so shocked you didn't put him in as your all-star. You know who it is?
Joel Embiid.
Joel Embiid.
This is going to be an interesting month. Like, the past 9 games.
He very well could make it if he's playing at this level and only sits back-to-backs over the next month. He very well could sneak into that all-star game.
Yeah, if he keeps up, like, he's now played 5 games in 9 days. For over the last 9 games, you look at his averages, they are Joel Embiid like that. He's averaging 29 points per game. His rebounds, I believe, are 8.7 for it. The assists are back in like the 4.5 type range for him. If this is the Joel Embiid we're getting for the foreseeable future, a lot of people are going to have some delete some tweets and take some takes away that, like, the days of him playing as an all-star level, I thought were gone. They may not be. That he has been this somewhat consistently over the recent stretch. And I honestly had given up hope that there was a world where he could play 5 games in 9 days, the way that he just did over the past 2 weeks here. So if this is here to stay, if Joel maintains this for the next month, I will be back on my high horse and campaigning that he deserves it, especially given the lack of big man talent in the Eastern Conference.
All right, you ready to go to the West?
Let's do it.
So in the West, I had 9 locks. I thought the West was easier. There's a lot more talented players, so some really good players are missing it who would easily make the team in the East. I only had a real debate between the last 2 guys, but I'll give you my 9 locks, all right? And then you tell me if you disagree with any or you want to add any, but I would be astonished if any of these guys aren't all-stars. Luka, Shea, Jokic, Alperen Sengun, KD, Anthony Edwards, Steph Curry, Wemby, and Denny Avdija.
All on my list.
Awesome. And any are not locks for you?
No, those guys are all locks. Denny seems like he's finally getting some national push, which he
would be and I could see him being not being in there.
Yeah.
But the coaches decided, and the coaches how could they miss Denny Avdija? It would be inexcusable if he's not an all-star game. He's been one of the best 10 players in basketball this year. He's been that good for a Portland team I think they've won 5 or 6 straight. They're playing really good basketball. They're up to 18-20 in the record, and they could be in the play-in mix. And he's been the best player by far. Shaedon Sharp's playing well. This is a fun Blazers team, and Denny Avdija has been incredible.
And you know how you can really tell he's getting good is people are starting to complain about the whistle, and
he's third in the league in free throws. He gets to the free throw line, unbelievable rate. But again, that's a skill. As much as people complain about it, it's a skill.
And the way that he does it is the dude is like balls to the walls. He's just attacking the rim. He is, as far as like coast to coast speed. Yeah, he's a freight train. Like I think he's probably pretty near the top of the league. Like it's kind of it's a strange list, but it's probably like Tyrese Maxey, John Morant, and Denny Avdija as far as just going on the fast break and attacking the rim right there. So shout out to Denny. It's nice to see him get a little national love.
So before you go, because I know you're so excited this guy is going to be an all-star this year, and I actually have him as my all-star. So those are the 9 locks.
Yep.
I got Jamal Murray.
Yep.
He absolutely should be an all-star. And then 2 spots, and I have 3 players between. Kawhi Leonard, Devin Booker, Lauri Markkanen. Where are you on those final spots?
Kawhi Leonard and Devin Booker made my list right there. Lauri is left off. It's hard. He's having a great year. He's been an all-star before. I think he will be again once this team tries to actually win basketball games. I think that to me is pretty much should be the consensus Western Conference All-Stars is the guys that you mentioned with Kawhi and Booker. And I'm surprised that Kawhi still had this left in the tank, but I think it's pretty indisputable the way that he's played of late. And I think Booker deserves a little bit more love for his overall season. That Suns team, they're scrappy, they're fun, they compete, and they're right in the mix right there. And Devin Booker has spearheaded that. So I almost would put him in as a lock.
So I have my Jamal Murray, we have in, those are the 10, and then I have Kawhi Leonard and Lauri Markkanen. I think Kawhi deserves it at the way he's playing. He's been one of the 5 to 10 best players in basketball. I could see him kind of slowing down a little bit, or maybe an injury happens because he's carrying a huge scoring load right now, and he doesn't stay healthy for more than 2 months at a time, hasn't in years. So I could see him slipping up a little bit, but I got Lauri over Devin Booker as my last spot. And I don't want to knock Devin Booker because I think he's become really underrated these days where people don't appreciate him as much. But you look at the scoring numbers, Lauri Markkanen's scoring is up. His 3-point percentage and
Booker shot it bad.
Efficiency. Lauri Markkanen's playing better. Like Devin Booker's shooting 29% from 3. As good of a mid-range scorer as he is, the 3 ball hasn't been there, especially the pull-up threes. So I favor Lauri Markkanen. That Jazz team is fun too. It's not like this is like a god-awful team like at the Pacers level. They're not going to make the play-in probably, but they're a fun team. And yeah, the Suns should be rewarded for someone. And you hear some talk about like Dylan Brooks. He's not quite an all-star, even though he's been really great this year. If any Sun gets it, it should be Devin Booker. But I think Lauri Markkanen's been the better player, and I don't want to see him left out again because of his team kind of being in this tank rebuilding stage. So I got Jamal Murray, Kawhi, and Lauri Markkanen as my last 3 spots, and I got Devin Booker on the outside looking in.
Yeah, I hear you on that. I think Booker deserves a ton of credit for the playmaking this year. That's been really impressive to me. The 3-point shooting, by the way, is bizarre, and it's been this way his whole career. That he's never been like an elite shooter. He's got like as like perfect a form as you can teach. The mid range is as pure as it comes, but it's never translated from beyond the arc. And this year is like an all-time bad for, which is really bizarre to me. I can't put my finger on the why, and there may not honestly be like a real answer to that. This is one where team success did matter to me. That like I think he's really elevated the Suns and like been the stability there. I feel
he's been there for the last couple of years when they've been down, and he's been there forever. But I mean, I think it's the coach, the system, the culture, like Colin Gillespie's elevation. Of course, bringing Dylan Brooks, Jordan Goodwin, like all these guys that they've had a kind of resurgence, and Devin Booker's kind of just been the same player, and he deserves credit for it. I think he's become underrated, where people thought he was like a top 10 player in the league, and now he's not discussed that way at all. But he's still below these other guys that I put at.
Yeah, I hear you. I got a couple more names that I do want to throw your way here. I'll also note, like, it's a bummer to me how much of Lauri Markkanen's career is just going to be wasted in meaningless basketball. Like, the dude, he can contribute to winning right now on a ton of teams. And I hope next year is the year where it fully shifts for the Jazz. Because
I wanted to see him on the Warriors playing with the gravity of Steph Curry so badly. And that was rumored last year. It's been rumored a little bit this year. I would love to see that. I also he's not that old. If the Jazz get lottery luck and get one of these win now guys who can come in the league and be immediately impactful, Keontae George is a really good player. He's top 20 in the league in scoring. Walker Kessler, he comes back from injury. He's out for the rest of this year. He's a really quality set. This team could make some noise in the West. So I get kind of being patient, but again, it comes down to lottery luck. But I think the Jazz have approached it the right way where hopefully the basketball gods reward them in the lottery.
Yeah, I get it. I understand not just selling for cheap or moving him to move him because he is a good player, and I do hope it comes around, but that is a bummer to me. A couple more names I want to throw out there. James Harden, I think, has a case. Fair or foul?
Yeah, definitely a case. Yep.
Julius Randle, I think, has a case. Fair? These two I don't think you're going to get with me on. Stephon Castle, I really gave some consideration, man.
So I'll give you my just miss list, and then or you give me yours first, and then
my last one is Chet Holmgren.
Okay, yeah. So I have the same or similar just miss list where Devin Booker, obviously, Dylan Brooks is on there, Chet Holmgren, James Harden, Julius Randle. But instead of Stephon Castle, I had De'Aaron Fox on there.
Okay,
he was awesome during that stretch when Wemby was out, where the Spurs went 8-3, and he's really been the offensive catalyst. As good as Stephon Castle's been, he's incredible. Unbelievable pick and roll playmaker. Turnovers you'd like to see come a little down still, but he's been better recently. But De'Aaron Fox has really been the guy for that team. And he's playing off the ball more too when Stephon Castle's the creator, when Dylan Harper gets some reps on ball. So I've been really impressed with De'Aaron Fox. The West is just too talented, but he deserves all-star consideration more than anybody on that team except Wemby.
Yeah, I think that's a fair take. I find myself falling in love with Stephon Castle playing basketball every time I watch the Spurs, which is kind of funny because I was a bit of an anti-Castle guy coming out, and what rubbed me the wrong way about him is like all the phrasing and determination to be a point guard. When it's like when I watch, it's like I just don't see you as a point guard, and I still don't see him as a point guard by any means. He's third on the pecking order on that Spurs team as far as like the playmaking instincts and that kind of thing. But the dude just competes his butt off every single night. He is relentless in the way that he attacks the glass, creates additional possessions. I think he straps up in defense the fullest of his capabilities. I love Stephon Castle, man. If they ever do break up that guard trio, which I don't think there should be any rush to do, if I'm a team, I'm jumping at letting him be like a tone setter for your roster.
Yeah, I honestly think you talk about untouchables on the Spurs. Wemby's obviously one. I think Stephon Castle's two. And then maybe like a Dylan Harper, but that team is perfectly constructed right now. When you talk about the wings, Keldon Johnson was great last night, but him and Harrison Barnes are shooting the ball tremendously and such great spot-up players and good defenders. And that's kind of what you need when you talk about the guards who can get to the lane and have such great speed. And then Wemby's this engine himself. So that team is perfectly constructed right now. You talk about how you handle a rebuild around Wemby, which is what they did. And yeah, they got really lucky in the lottery, of course, getting the number one to get Wemby, getting
Harper
picked for Stephon Castle, but not everyone would have drafted Castle. There wasn't some surefire prospect. And then
Harper was,
yeah. So you've got really lucky in the lottery, which you need luck to be successful in this league. But they did a really good job rebuilding and kind of keeping some of those guys like Keldon Johnson, but acquiring the Harrison Barnes and De'Aaron Fox, and have really built a contender, if you want to call them that. I don't buy their playoff success this year still. We can talk about that in another episode. But they really are a contender in the West in some ways. So credit to how they built around Wemby.
Yeah, and I want to dig deeper into this in another episode as far as like the matchup stuff, especially as we get closer to the playoffs. But I do think there's something to like the way they match up with this Thunder team by having all these different ball handlers. Like I think that is a secret to beating this team of guys that can make decisions, that you're kind of spreading them out, allowing guys to take others off the dribble, create different looks. That's been the most effective I've seen any team be against this Thunder defense. And I'm curious to dig deeper into that when we get closer to that time.
Just another point off that, when you talk about the Thunder's defense and you got to talk about guys like Caruso and Dort and Case and Wallace at the point of attack and Jalen Williams even, those are strong guys. Their defense has always been strength with their ball pressure. The Spurs have speed. Like De'Aaron Fox and Stephon Castle, like those guys are so quick where they can explode by them. It doesn't matter how strong you are because they're not quick enough to stay in front of them. And that's what you have seen in those three matchups where the Spurs went 3-0. They just get to the lane, get downhill. And of course, from there, once you get 2 feet in the lane, you can collapse and create. And that's been the strength where that's a real problem for the Thunder. They have to figure out a way to counteract that. But the speed has been the killer for the Spurs.
Yeah, 100% there. And I feel like we are destined to get that matchup too. The little Wemby-Chet rivalry, all the other factors. So we'll see how it plays out. A lot more to get into. The final note that I did want to wrap up here, Sam Oshtry, your boy Derek Queen, fake demon, man. He called his shot and then came up empty after, of course, the famous draft night trade where the just Pelicans mortgaging the future, trading the first overall pick essentially to get Derek Queen. Him tweeting the date of when this matchup would be, which happened to be last night. Well, the 17-point loss, Derek Queen in 19 minutes of action shot 3 of 9 from the field, had 6 points, 10 rebounds, and 2 assists. Was a -13 in the matchup. I thought he called the shot. I thought he was going to have the game of his life. Did not happen for DQ last night.
Yeah, it's unnecessary Derek Queen hate. I should just ignore it. He didn't play well last night. He's still unbelievable. And he's honestly been in a little bit of a slump, even though he had like 10, 13, and 8 the night before. He's been in a little bit of a slump, but that happens for rookies. He's a little bit of a rookie wall. At this point of the season, he already has played more games this year than he did in college as a freshman last year. So the wall has happened. It's come, but he's an unbelievable talent. I don't care that much about what you're talking about. Probably didn't even remember he tweeted that. It was something funny because he has a great personality. He's a fun-loving personality. And it was something funny at the time. Probably didn't remember he tweeted it, but of course, social media will dig it up after the fact.
Yeah, he's active on the Twitter timelines too. A good follow.
He is. All right. Anything else?
No, that should do it for me.
All right. Well, we appreciate everybody listening. Again, get involved in the conversation. You can leave us emails, voicemails, 856-295-1602. We'll play your mailbag questions. We'll read your mailbag questions at paceandspaceshow@gmail.com. We'll talk to you next week.